So hello all and welcome. It is I, the Realist Philosopher. And in this video, I wanted to talk about the ever-increasing trend of women waiting until much, much later in life to have kids. Now, I don't get this, but it seems like women, even though they claim to be all about equality between men and women, which I would think would, to me, I would infer that the meaning of that would be that men and women are, at least value-wise, equal. Women don't seem to think that. They actually seem to think men are better than women because all the women I see want to be men, even though they claim that gender stereotypes are just social constructions and there's no such thing as male or female behavior. And yet, in ever increasing numbers, they seem to eschew what is generally considered traditional feminine behavior and gender roles, while at the same time adopting what has generally been considered male behavior and gender roles. So on one hand, they call men toxically masculine and evil and oppressors, and on the other, they want to be us. Oh, in almost every way, including the ages that they believe they can have kids. Now a man, those sperm, they can keep swimming till you're 70, 80 years old. 90-year-olds can have kids even, but ain't no 90-year-old chicks having kids, yo. Hell, you hit 40, it's going to be real difficult. 90% of your eggs are dead at 30, ladies. So there seems to be this ever-increasing segment of the population that seems to be totally, completely oblivious to objective reality when it comes to biology until they hit a certain age, and then they're suddenly aware, somehow, that they can't have kids. Meaning that they've reached the age where the partying is over because the dudes that they want aren't really that interested anymore. And the dudes that are interested, well, those dudes, they don't really inspire those butterflies in the pit of her stomach. So, fun's over, time to settle down. And it seems like only then does she start thinking about popping out those puppies. But unfortunately, you're 39 years old, sweetheart, so there ain't no puppies coming out of there without some, very expensive medical assistance. So I wanted to talk about this story that I came across. I find it very amusing, very interesting, and I think it's very instructional both to women and men, especially men, which is what this channel is mainly for, because there's a million, billion, quadzillion channels out there for women, but very few for men that speak directly to us and that speak to our best interests. And those best interests not being serving women, which seems to be what every other channel, news source, media, academia, government tells men is in their best interest. You serve them women who serve us. So you're really serving us to the woman. So this is a very interesting story, very instructional. So let's get right into it, shall we? Okay, so there's the headline, there's the title. I'm 38 and single. And I recently realized I want to have a child. Yeah. Took you 38 years to realize that, huh? Could it be that realization came because you ran out of options to give your life meaning? Could that be it? Could it be that the want to have that child is just a filler because you've got nothing else distraction-wise to fill that gaping maw inside you that you filled before with copious amounts of could that be the case, honey? Could it be that the way you were priorly finding meaning in your life, which was essentially delving ever deeper into hedonism, the pleasure of the moment, is no longer an option for you? The crack and cocaine that is finding a new beau every 6 months who ticks all your boxes, so now you got to have that kid. Could that be? Because I think that's the case. This is always the same story. Always the same story. These chicks get fed a bill of goods. They follow a particular lifestyle that they've been told by the powers that be is empowering and makes you strong and independent. And this is the right path. This is the path that you need to follow to be happy. And then after 15, 20 years of that, they find they have an empty house, an empty feeling in the pit of their stomach, no kids, no husband, and they discover that it was all a waste. And now they want to have kids, but unfortunately, biological reality has determined that it's too late for you. Yet another reason why they resent men, because we can have kids into our golden years. They really are golden, especially if they're without broads like this. So before I get into this story, I'd like to ask you guys to like, subscribe, give a thumbs up. Also, go follow me on BitChute, BitChute, and Rumble. You'll see the addresses on the top of the screen. Alt tech is very important. We don't want centralized control when it comes to sources, dissemination of information. So follow me on BitChute, follow me on Rumble, and maybe, just maybe, if you want, you can make a donation on Patreon. Go check those out. You'll find those links all at the top of the screen. So back to the story. So she's 38. She's single. She's recently realized she wants a child. But I'm terrified of missing my opportunity. You should be terrified. And you did miss your opportunity. I mean, I guess you could have kids at 38, but you're going to need some help in most cases. That's not to say that there aren't broads out there that have popped out kids at 38 without, in vitro or some other very expensive form of aid, but it's not common. So 90% of your eggs are dead at 30, and I believe each year it decreases by 0.5 to 1%. So by 38, 94, 98% of our eggs could be dead. Now, I suppose you got a better chance of popping out a kid at this age than winning the lottery, but they're still not good odds. All right, let's check this broad out. Okay, so she's, is that her at 38? Wow, okay. She's not a bad-looking chick. So she's attractive. It looks like that's her natural hair color. She's cute. She's above cute. I'd say she's, what are we talking, 6, 7? Maybe a 7, bordering on 7? I don't know. But she's not average. She's above average looks. Haven't seen the body, but usually if she's a biggin, it would show in the face. Biggins generally have the chunky, puffed up faces as well, puffed up with fat. So she's not a bad looking chick, which probably explains why she's single at this age. She's not bad looking now, so imagine what she looked like 15 years ago. So she was having fun riding the carousel, getting with the dudes that she wanted and getting that validation, those butterflies. I want them and they want me too, until they don't. Oh, but don't worry, because another guy that I want is just a flick of the phone away. Yeah, until he ain't. Because now those same dudes that you want, they're now your age as well, honey, but they're dating 22-year-olds, and they can because they got money and they got looks, and our looks last. What is that? Women age like Sean Connery and men age like Sean Connery. We can keep getting the chicks well into our later years. We can keep getting the chicks we want. But the women, they can't keep getting the dudes they want. Yet another reason they resent us. So she's not bad looking. So she can probably still find dudes that hit it. Unfortunately, those same dudes are just going to quit it, only quicker than they used to. They're not going to keep around as long, and hence, the butterflies ain't lasting as long. And of course, like any addict, and women like this are addicts, they are just junkies of, on validation is their drug, okay? Getting their egos pumped up is their drug. Like any addict, the fix doesn't last as long and it's not as intense, so she needs to get more of it. However, she's older now. She has less of what we want. So actually, the quantity and quality of the drug that she so craves has reduced in its value to give her the high she wants, which is, of course, now why she's looking for a different high. Having a kid! Yeah, yeah. Methinks for a woman like this, having a kid is just a stand-in. You know, it's a fallback option, a fallback position, not actually something she genuinely wants and desires. Believe me, if this chick could keep riding the carousel forever, she would. But she can't. So, some bullet points here. I didn't want kids, and I didn't think I'd want to get married again. So she was married once already. Had herself a starter husband. That seems to be pretty in fashion these days. But recently I realized I actually do want to build a life and a family with someone. Yeah, now that you run out of options. That's great. I think it's so amusing that these chicks say that's what they want, but only when they have no other choices. I'm almost 39 and I'm starting to panic about whether my chance to have a child is past. It's past. I can still picture it. Oh boy, here we go. Idyllic setting. I was 20, sitting on the kitchen countertop with my legs dangling over the cabinets. So go back 18 years. Let's look at this pic. That's a picture I'd like to see, but those were some nice legs back then. He was 21, leaning against the stove of the home he hoped we'd share. It's too young to be getting married. 20 these days is like 10 100 years ago. People are far more immature than they used to be. They just don't have to face the same vicissitudes. They don't have to face the same vicissitudes of life, and they don't have to face the same kind of suffering and obstacles, which tend to age people well before their time. So, yeah, at 20, too young to be even considering marriage. We've been dating for nearly 2 years, and we're at a standstill. Oh, really? At a standstill. Why's that? I was clinging to my dream of moving 5 hours away to attend the design program at the Art Institute of Seattle. Oh boy, she's seen too many episodes of Sex and the City. He wanted a simple life. Yeah, what's wrong with that? By the way, why is that simple? Clearly, yeah, this is obviously coming from someone who's never had kids and didn't do very much analysis of her own family. If she did, she'd find that it's anything but simple. Raising kids, not an easy task, certainly not a simple task, a lot of complexity, but the way she says it, it's like she's a nobleman looking down at a peasant. Oh, your simple pleasures. I just love the condescension. She didn't even realize that she's spewing that, superior invective, but she is. He wanted to simple life with children and home-cooked meals. Oh, how dare he expect me to cook? Meanwhile, you're cooking every day for yourself. And now you want to cook for other people. Well, maybe not. Maybe she'll hire a nanny or something. I bet she's one of these broads that even at 39, she says she wants kids and a family. But once she gets them, if she gets them, which is highly unlikely, unless she finds herself a blue pill beta simp, then she'll probably hire a nanny. So she won't be around, so what's the point? In the little resort town of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where we met in the 6th grade. Wow. So your childhood sweetheart, that would have been great. Why didn't you settle for that guy? He was too nice. The butterflies vanished after a couple of years, which is what they do. I wanted those butterflies back. Yeah, they last about 6 months to 18 months, honey. You don't understand that. So you're just going to have this continual roster of new dudes coming up, right? And if you do that, you're not going to have any investment, no long-term investment. And of course, that's where real value and meaning is built. So that day in the kitchen, we decided to stay together. Did you now? Okay. Again, probably because she didn't feel she had options at that point when she realized she did. And there were other ox to explore. She hightailed it out of there. Yeah, to chase them butterflies. Yeah, and we each gave up something to do that. I would no longer pursue design school. What is that, design school? What is she designing, like clothes? Yeah, feeding into women's ever-increasing lust for vanity and validation of a sexual nature, even though they don't want to be objectified. Wow, that's some meaning in your life, honey. So you give up kids and a family and grandkids to make clothes for Vain, vanity-obsessed people. That's great. And the big city life, I'd always dreamed of. The big city life, yo. God. It's overrated. I knew this one broad. And, yeah, banged and clanged and then quit it because she hated men. And she wanted to move to Shanghai. She wanted to move to the big city and live the Sex and the City life. And then after about 4 years of that and essentially prostituting herself out to survive to various strange men, she wanted a kid, and she had a kid, and then moved back to her hometown to live with mom and daddy and used the proceeds of her whoredom to buy a house. Ended up right back where she claimed she didn't want to be to find the happiness and meaning in her life. Yeah. And he'd forego having children and a wife who prioritized homemaking. Okay. I mean, wait. I thought that he wanted kids and home cooked meals. So you're going to give up design school, and he's going to give up kids and you know, a traditional family. Well, then what does he want with you? What does he need you for? It sounds like well. So this guy already sounds like a blue pill beta male. So that explains why she dumped him. Yeah, so, and he'd forgo having children and a wife who prioritized homemaking. So you don't want to prioritize homemaking, but now you do want to prioritize homemaking? Notice she didn't say that she wanted to prioritize homemaking. She just said she wants to have kids. So she still wants to have her cake and eat it, too. Yeah. I made it clear to him that I did not see motherhood in my future, and that he needed to be okay with that. Why would... Wow. So you two don't have the same values. Why did you even get married? So... this is what annoys me, and this is another problem today. People don't take marriage seriously. Marriage is supposed to be for life. Now, granted, I do acknowledge that there are rare instances, and they are actually very rare, this idea that men were somehow beating the shit out of women throughout the entirety of history, and that being common is total BS. Men loved and cherished and cared for their wives, and they took that role very seriously. Generally speaking, they weren't beating the crap out of them. That's a lie intended to dissuade women from getting married, told by big, fat feminazis who themselves couldn't find men, so they wanted everybody else to share in their misery. Now, marriage used to be and should be taken very, very seriously. And yet these two, they seem to view it as a game. She does anyway, same too. Yeah. You two don't have the same values. People who are getting married, taking it seriously means you have the same values. You want the same things. If you don't, you're not going to align. And if you don't align, well, it's not going to work, as it clearly didn't. 2 years later, we married. Why? The only reason to get married is to have kids, to form a family, and the forming a family means having kids. That's a whole part of the process. That's what marriage exists for. Of course, nowadays it exists for women to get some kind of golden parachute, right? I want that starter marriage so I can have a house early that he paid for. And alimony and all that. Yeah, so starter husband, this dude. Yeah. Oh, Lord have mercy. So, my now ex-husband wanted kids and a stay-at-home wife. Yeah, he wanted that, but he married you. Well, he gets what he deserves. He should have known better. My husband thought I'd change. Why would he think that? This is another thing, guys. If you're going to marry someone, recognize who they are, what they want, what they value, what their virtues are, what they bring to the table and what they don't. This woman had nothing that this guy wanted except a poon and a pulse, and probably wasn't a blob. It's a pretty low bar to set, but he didn't have what she wanted. Why would you marry that? You can't change people, all right? You've got to remember that. People don't change. I got a brother I ain't seen in 20 years, and this pathetic loser sap married some fat chick. And I said to him before he got married, dude, you know, she's pretty big, pretty hefty, pretty chunky. And he says to me, you know, she's promised she's going to lose weight. Why would she? Take it from somebody who's lost a lot of weight once in their life. It's extremely, extremely difficult for me as a man. Okay? I mean, I've been taught to take responsibility for myself and my own actions and to remedy my own problems. I can't blame them on anybody else. I'm not allowed to. I'm a man. How to hold up the world. If this atlas shrugs, the world collapses en masse. So men aren't allowed to shirk responsibility. But women, they've been encouraged not to take responsibility for anything. So expecting a woman to change, first she's got to acknowledge there's something to change, which means she's got to acknowledge that something is wrong, which means she's got to take responsibility, accountability for her own actions and who and what she is, and women ain't going to do that. So expecting them to change, it's far less likely than even expecting a man to change, which is extremely unlikely. And by the way, you can't change other people, so that's a farce, that's a pipe dream, that's a myth, that's absurd. By the way, I think to this day, or I think I looked online. I haven't looked online actually, but from what I understand, she's still, from reliable sources, a big un. I don't want to use the F word, F-A-T, you know, that's verboten. She's still very large, actually larger than she was at that time. So she didn't change, but he changed what he wanted, right? As men are always supposed to do, sacrifice. So you can't change other people. My husband thought I changed, and I thought I could change him. Well, you did? He settled for you. He took what he didn't want, so obviously you convinced him, all right? I told myself, well, maybe he convinced himself, you know. I told myself that it was silly to go after my dreams and that I should be content in the pretty mountain where I grew up. Well, did you ever start to think that your dreams are not realistic or that those dreams are the wrong dreams or that these dreams that you have will not bring you what you want? Did you ever stop to think that? No. Did you ever stop to think about what you wanted at all? No. Oh, of course not. So the story goes on as you would expect, but I grew resentful of him, obviously. Yeah, his fault, not mine. When he asked where dinner was or complained that his gym clothes hadn't been washed. So you took on the role of the happy homemaker minus the kids. So let me get this straight. You essentially became a glorified maid. You didn't even give him children. And yet he went to work. He earned all the money, paid all the bills, but you resented having to do some house chores that might take 1 or 2 hours a day. Typical feminist. I did little to hide my disdain for our small town life. What's wrong with small towns? I would love to live in a small town right now. Are you kidding? He was a good and hard-working man. Uh-oh. Yeah, it wasn't the bad boy. Yeah, she just said it right there. He was a good and hard-working man, which is why she wasn't interested in him. He was chasing her, essentially. He gave up more than she had to give up. He has to put more into the relationship than she does. So, of course, she ain't interested. But I don't think I made him feel that way. You think? By the way, you're responsible for how you feel and for who you choose to be with. This dude chose somebody whose values didn't align with his, so he kind of gets what he deserves. That's partly his fault. We were young, foolish, and sweet. Young, I mean, come on. Not too long ago, 18-year-olds were going to war and coming back 2 years later at 20 looking like they were 50 because of the, stress and terror that they went through. But you claimed that being young means you was foolish. The two are not necessarily the same thing. But anyway, and sweet. Thinking our love would allow us to overcome our differences. No, it doesn't work that way. What do you mean? That's another thing, guys. Opposites don't attract. Or maybe they'll attract, depending on the person, but they don't make for a long-term union. People who are vastly different, they can't get along. They can't have a meaningful relationship, okay? It won't work. We were also very wrong. Yeah, imagine that. Shortly after I turned 30, we divorced. Oh, the age. It's always the same age, 29, 30. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm not getting the attention I used to get from other men, which shouldn't really matter to you because you're married, but the truth of the matter is you did what you thought you was supposed to do. Meanwhile, you've been corrupted by the evil ideology, the death cult, the cultural Marxism, the gender Marxism of feminism, so there was no way, shape, or form you were going to appreciate married life. And you were going to, as years pass, see it as ever more of a burden than a boon. Oh, I'm 30 years old. I'm not getting the attention and validation I used to. I need to go out there and get it back. But the only way I can do that seriously is to dump him. Not realizing it doesn't come back because it's based in biology, sweetheart. And if you wanted something that was based in, I don't know, your soul and personality, you already have a husband that married you supposedly for those things, you idiot. We were both tired of sacrificing the things that were important to us for each other. Yeah. Well, of course, you probably are the one that initiated the divorce. Why didn't you have kids, by the way? What did you sacrifice? You got to sit around all day. You got to be at home. You did housework. By the way, your design, whatever your career in creative design, fashion design, couldn't you have pursued that at home? I don't get this. I don't get this. She blames everything on him. Meanwhile, she could have had her cake and eaten it too, had everything she wanted, but instead she wanted to play the victim and blame him. Why? And by the way, you didn't have kids. What the hell job did you have? What were you busy with? Let me tell you something, okay? I'm a single guy. Take care of my own shit, clean my own clothes, make my own food. We're not talking about a lot of time here. It's not labor intensive like kids are, okay? You could have done your 1 or 2 hours of housework, chores every day, maybe 2, since there's 2 of you, and maybe you had a big house. I don't know, 2, 3 hours a day of that. Couldn't you have devoted the rest of that time to your design career and started your own business from home? And couldn't you have had kids and then in your free time pursued that, what little free time you actually had? No. I gotta be able to put all my time and effort into my careers. Yeah, because working for some nameless, faceless corporation that doesn't give a damn about me and putting all my time and labor into serving them is so much more important than doing the exact same thing for someone who loves me and kids that love me. Make that make sense. So she goes on to say, I didn't think I'd want to get married again or have kids. You didn't think, huh? Oh, of course, because you were 30 and maybe a good-looking 30, and looking at her now at, if that's her at 38, she probably looked damn good at 30. The wall doesn't hit for everybody. And at 30, it was probably starting to kick in, and that's where she got divorced because she wanted to explore that carousel. She wanted to explore that validation and butterflies for as long as she possibly could. And at 30, she was still looking pretty good, and she may not have hit the wall yet, even at 38. Of course, she's hit the biological wall as far as having kids, but hey. So she goes on to say, I told my friends and family I'd never get married again. I needed independence. Is that what you need? People tend to get their wants and needs confused. Yeah. Chase their desires instead of what would actually be best for their well-being. And it's not until they get older, until they become a little more self-aware, that they start to understand what brings true happiness. But of course, by then it's too late in most cases. A fulfilling career. What? I don't understand how being a clothing designer or something, it brings fulfillment. I mean, you're designing a piece of clothing that's going to be worn by some chick that you probably think has unrealistic body expectations, unrealistic body standards, promotes an unrealistic shape, because the majority of women are, obese, so those chicks ain't going to wear your clothes. And in a couple of years, your clothes are going to be out of fashion that you designed a couple of years ago, and then they're going to be sitting in somebody's closet. And that's your fulfilling career instead of kids and grandkids, who, by the way, you could have also made clothes for. By the way, I don't understand this. Why couldn't she do that and have kids? You can't buy a sewing machine? I don't understand. What excludes you? What precludes it? What stops you from doing what you enjoy? I gotta go work for some nameless, faceless corporation, and do what I love. I can't do what I love without that nameless, faceless corporation paying me money. Well, doesn't your husband cover everything? Shut up, bigot! Evil, toxic man. Can't get my money from a man. Aren't most corporations owned by men? I'd rather serve a nameless, faceless man than my husband who I love. Make it make sense, people. I needed independence, fulfilling career, a space to chart my own course, and I didn't think marriage fit into that vision. Yeah. Because marriage stops me from doing the things I love doing. Yeah, that whole 2 hours a day that I focus on housework and cleaning and throwing some clothes in a washing machine. I was content to look forward to a future without a husband, children, or the trappings of a traditional life. Yeah, because you've been indoctrinated to believe that traditional life is oppressive and enslavement. So I'm going to enslave myself to strangers instead and become tax chattel. I was also in no hurry to get into a serious relationship after my divorce. I don't think that your marriage was all that serious, if we're being honest. I was terrified of repeating my mistakes. Yes, okay. Of course, your main mistake was not taking your marriage seriously and prioritizing the wrong things, which you're continuing to do. Nevertheless, months later, I stumbled into one that lasted 7.5 years. So she got in a relationship that lasted 7.5 years. Gee, I wonder how and why it ended. Let's see. He was significantly older. I love it. Isn't it chicks that are the age she is now that have a problem with younger chicks dating older dudes? Of course. Because now those older dudes don't want her, but she had no problem with it when she was one of those younger chicks. Of course. And of course, older, significantly older means significantly wealthier. More than likely. And wasn't interested in marriage or children. So he said, okay, maybe that's true. And maybe you were just a long-term booty call for him. And we were focused on our careers. Oh, yeah. That wonderful, beautiful career that you couldn't have waited until you had kids and a family to have. I don't get this, ladies. You take your most fertile years and you just waste them, in my opinion. Well, you exhaust them on a career. And then when you get older, you want to have kids during a time when you're now infertile or very close to being infertile, and the likelihood of having kids is almost nil. And even if you do have kids, the quality of those eggs is pretty crappy. So these kids are going to have subpar IQs and not likely to be very successful in life. They're probably going to be pushing burgers and fries at your local Mickey D's. So you could have everything you want if you just, change the timeline around, had the kids first and then have the career later, which would also make a lot more sense since now you would have the kids and you would be more mature and you could have been working on your career skills and your abilities and the thing that you love during those years that you had kids and a family intermittently, and then you'd be much better, much more prepared in your more advanced years, but instead you're doing everything ass backwards. And you can't do everything ass backwards, but you continue to try and buck objective reality. We expected to love each other aside from fidelity. Yeah, but this guy, the fact that he's significantly older and you're dating him and you're a good-looking broad tells me that he had lots of options. So why would he stick with you? I find it so interesting. She wants to dive back into the very world of the carousel riding with the dudes that make her heart go pitter-patter and put butterflies in her stomach. And yet she seems to miss the fact that dudes can do the exact same thing, and that these guys that she's jumping back into this world to explore the carousel for also are riding the same carousel. And the fact that you want him so bad and that he puts butterflies in your stomach probably means he does the same for other chicks. And he wasn't interested in getting married, which means he wasn't really interested in a commitment. Either that or he just has half a brain. But he's got resources. He probably has all the sixes. Otherwise, why would she be with him when he's significantly older? And you expect fidelity from him? Oh, we took trips, drank nice wine. I bet she's drinking a lot of wine now, in boxes. And has cats, many cats, and stayed out late. Yeah, well, the party's got to end sometime, honey. Without the expectations or duties of shared mortgage or family. And yet you want commitment, but you don't have all these other duties, responsibilities, these things that put meaning into a relationship, but you want the relationship. So you want the relationship without having to invest in the relationship. I love it. I really do love the cheap virtue and the absurd values these people have. She wants to have all of the accoutrements, all the benefits of a relationship, without having to put in the requisite work. It sounds about right. Yeah, we simply enjoyed our time together. When we were apart, we did our own things. Those were great, easy years. Easy years. Yeah, easy. But it's through hardship and graft and hard work and suffering, which comes from that graft and hard work, that you build value. It doesn't come from easy life. It was an incredibly healing relationship. What does that mean? Lots of sex with a dude that is super high tier and makes her feel validated. That's what that means. And ironically, I started to become the woman my ex-husband had wanted. Of course! This guy ticks all the boxes! Meanwhile, your ex-husband was a simp, he was a wimp, he was a blue pill beta male, he was a nice guy, he was chasing you, so you didn't see his value. Yeah, you're willing to become that homemaker for this guy. This is the Chad Tyrone Beta Bucks dude, of course. Oh yeah, you enjoy all the things that you didn't enjoy with your ex because your ex, he didn't measure up in your eyes. I enjoyed cooking, cleaning, and caring for someone when it was my choice. Oh, it was your choice before too, and you chose not to do those things because that guy in your eyes didn't have as much value. And when it wasn't asked of me, you wouldn't have done it for your ex if he hadn't asked. Come on. I'd been so preoccupied with preserving my independence and caring for myself that what you consider selfish, which isn't selfish at all, because real selfishness is just about doing what is most in line with your well-being, and it's not a vice, it's actually a virtue. This is just misguided on your part. I was so preoccupied with preserving my independence. No. You were preoccupied with preserving the illusion of independence, because you're not independent, honey. You couldn't survive without men, whether you know it or not. And care for myself that I hadn't realized how much I could enjoy caring for someone else and allowing them to care for me. Translation, I finally found the dude that ticks all of my boxes, but it turned out he didn't really want me for anything more than the long-term booty call that I didn't realize I was. And when I expressed that I wanted more, he dumped me. Is that what happens? It's probably something along those lines. I changed my mind about wanting to build a family with someone. Yeah, because you found the Beta Bucks Chad. I started to think I might want more than an easy, aimless relationship. Did you now? You finally realized that, meaning comes through hard work and suffering and difficulty and, sacrificing what you consider to be your independence. Too late. Yeah. I realized I might actually want to build a life. And by the way, it is your very desire to seek out, to hunt down those fifis, those butterflies in your stomach that make dudes like this not want to settle down. Because this guy has every woman and the mother and the grandmothers alike chasing him. This guy is the guy that 80-90% of women want. And this guy can get 80-90% of women continually because he doesn't have to commit anymore to get the poon. So why would he ever settle? So you and women like you are the very reason you can't get the guys you want to begin with. Oh, and the guys that might work hard to become what you want, well, you don't want them. Because you want the guy that's already at the finish line. You don't want to go through the hard work and the graft to build a life with a dude. You don't have to, right? You think you don't have to, but actually you do. I realized I might actually want to build a life from the ground up with someone who wanted the same thing. He doesn't. And while I knew that might take more work, which you didn't want to do before, but you weren't incentivized. Now you want to do the work because I found the one. It also felt like the type of connection worth pursuing. Yeah, but he's not interested in the same thing you are. You had a guy, and if you'd have stayed with him and appreciated him and loved him and been the wife that you claim you want to be now, maybe he would have worked to become the guy that you are now with. But I say you left him because he's not ready-made. And I can go get with that guy that has everything I already want. I don't have to put in the work and the graft to be with him while he gets there for me and our kids that I don't want to have with him. But I want to have with this guy who's already got everything I claim to want. Yeah, but that guy, he don't want you, honey. Oh, I felt restless, and I couldn't ignore that what I wanted had changed, only because you found what you thought was the perfect man. Though we were technically together, we were living our own lives. That was exactly what I had wanted and needed after my divorce, yet needed, because your needs are all that matter. Right, honey? Yeah, what a great mommy you would make. But autonomy was no longer my top priority. Felt like the relationship had run its course. He's a wonderful man, and we're still close, but we'd ended our relationship without intention or a shared vision of our future. Translation? Notice she brought up fidelity before. Translation, he didn't want to be with her. So they parted ways because she told him that she wanted more and a family and kids. And he said, I want to keep banging and clanging until I'm 80. Bye. Oh, that's really what happened, okay? So here she says, we broke up. That doesn't happen. That happens on Seinfeld, okay? We both broke up at the same time. It was mutual. No, it wasn't mutual. He broke up with her. I guarantee it. No, you didn't. We didn't break up. He broke up with you because you went to him and told him that you wanted marriage and kids, and he said, I don't want that. Before my 37th birthday. Interesting. Yeah, as she's getting up there in years. Yeah. Over the following year and a half, so she tried to lock him down, and he did the smart thing. Over the following year and a half, I dated around for the first time in my life. No, you didn't. You probably dated around after you got divorced. That's how you met this guy. I broke hearts. So she ain't learned anything. Had my own heart broken. Trust me, this guy broke your heart, okay? He dumped you. And did in my late 30s what many people do in their 20s. And how did that work for you? Didn't work for you. See, chasing the butterflies, chasing the chance of down road. Yeah. She's still doing that. Yeah, didn't learn nothing. I didn't know it then, but I was learning what I wanted and needed in a relationship. I thought you already learned that being with this other guy. Oh, right, he dumped you. So now you're trying to find somebody as good as him, and you can't, because you and women like you have disincentivized men from getting with women like you. Well, at least the top 10% of guys. There's 80% of guys out there that would gladly get with you, but you don't see them. They're invisible. You don't care about them because they haven't passed the finish line yet. They don't have all the sixes. Yeah, very few men do, sweetheart. You would be amazed at the low percentage. There's not enough of these men going around. You're all sharing the same 5% of dudes. Ultimately, I want to be able to laugh with another person, not simply join theirs when it's convenient. I began to feel an incredible urgency to find a relationship and stability to see me through the second half of my life. Yeah, she said it right there, didn't she? She wants to find a beta bucks deluxe dude to pay the bills and carry the majority of the financial weight. Because she's getting older now and her ability to attract a man for that purpose is declining rapidly. To my amazement, I began seriously thinking about marriage and children. Yeah, because that's now in your advanced years how you think you can lock down a dude. I hardly recognize myself. Yeah, now you're becoming a pick-me broad. I also began to feel selfish for spending so much time focusing solely on myself. No. You weren't being selfish, you were being misguided. I went from proudly proclaiming I was too self-centered to be bothered with a family. Oh, yeah, she's definitely a pick-me girl now. This whole article, by the way, I think is just her dating profile. This is an advertisement to try and trumpet her virtue to men. Of course, she doesn't realize that it's a total complete, L. To realize there was more to life than independence and the pleasures of living for oneself. I think you mean pleasures of the flesh. My very existence started to feel shallow and hollow. Too bad you couldn't have realized that when you were married to dude number one. Oh, but that's right, he's a beta male, so even now you wouldn't be interested in him. Well, maybe she would. I don't know. But she's still pretty decent looking, so she's probably still drawing dudes to hit it and quit it, which she erroneously conflates in her mind with commitment, interest, so who knows when she's going to wake up from that delusion. I worry I'll end up alone, but I'm still hopeful. Jeez, really? Now, months after that realization, at 39, wow, people are so much more immature than they used to be. You're just realizing now at 39 that pursuing a life of hedonism isn't how you find meaning. I feel panicked, thinking I'll be a single childless middle-aged woman. I worry that my youthful looks will fade. She's still good looking at 38. And sweetheart, they're already starting to fade, okay? But she may not have hit the wall yet. If that picture was recent, yeah, okay, she hasn't hit the wall yet. You still got dudes wanting to hit it. But they quit it, don't they? Yeah. Will fade, and that I won't be able to attract the man I want to spend the rest of my life with. Ah, she said it right there. And there's the problem. The man you want isn't the man you can get long term. You had the man you could get long term, a man that was probably on your level, but like most modern chicks, you let all the attention and validation of men that want to bang and clang you and hit it and quit it go to your freaking head, and you think you're far more valuable than you actually are. And now you're trying to get guys that are way above your price range, and it's not working. Wake up and smell the fucking coffee, sweetheart. You even had that dude for 7.5 years, and I guarantee you he dumped you because you went to him and said, I want a relationship, and said, nah. Let's cut ties. All right, and by the way, you wanted that relationship at 37, right? When your wall was starting to kick in. It doesn't kick in at the same age for every woman. It's not always 30. Some chicks continue to look great and youthful into their late 30s, like this broad probably does. So the wall and this realization, it doesn't kick in at the same time for every chick, but it does eventually kick in. And he saw that, and he's like, nah, fun's over because now you want to take this to the next level. I got all the sixes. I don't need to take anything to the next level. I'm going to go get with a chick 15 years younger than you. But those are the guys she wants. She hasn't learned anything. Oh, and she said it right here. This is the red pill that she's not even listening to. What's the answer? Get with a guy that you wouldn't necessarily normally consider. No. Her values are all out of whack, and she doesn't seem to have much of any virtue. So that guy, she'll never get with him. Even if she does, she'll never be happy, and she'll eventually dump him as well, or cheat on him. Anyway, if I sound desperate, it's because I honestly do feel a little desperate. What? It's a little late, isn't it? You should have been desperate 10 years ago. At my age, I know that creating life may not be an option for me. You know that now? Why didn't you know that? This is a biological reality, sweetheart. I mean, were you so busy getting filled with cock and railroaded and run through that realization, that common knowledge didn't occur to you? And I worry that men who want a family aren't looking for a woman pushing 40. They're not, honey. They're not. It's like a guy looking for a car to do a cross-country trip in, and he goes and he looks at this beat-up old VW Bug with 450,000 miles and the engine that's about to fall out. That vehicle will not fit his purposes. It's got like 100 miles left in it. You are that broken down VW Bug with 100 miles left in it, sweetheart, and the engine falling out. Any purpose-driven guy is not going to get with you. And the guys that you want to be with, they're very purpose-driven when it comes to eventually wanting to settle down. And to be six-figure guys, they got logic, they got reason. They're not going to buy the VW Bug. I worry that men who want a family are looking for a woman pushing 40. You think? I get it. I'm no longer the ideal candidate for motherhood. And it's a scary truth, but I still hope to find someone who thinks I'm the ideal partner and create our family together. Plenty of guys out there, right? Right, but they're not what she wants. And of course, her standards have only gotten higher as she's aged, even though she's acknowledging that her value in regards to what a man wants has declined sharply. Oh, talk about cognitive dissonance on steroids. I understand the appeal of life without the constraints of marriage or children. Yeah, and if you were able to still pull in the caliber of dudes that you used to, and you were able to continue riding the carousel and continue getting those butterflies, which you don't get so much anymore, even when you do get what you say you want, because it's like a drug, and as we know with all drugs, you chase the dragon, but that dragon gives you less and less each hit you get. So now you're seeking a new dragon, but unfortunately, unfortunately, the biological reality is starting to hit you in the face like a wall at high speed. For many years, I was quite satisfied living that way. Of course you were. Of course you were. You were getting the attention and validation, the fix, the hit that you wanted, that you needed, that gave your life some purpose. I know people can live happy, purpose-driven lives without those things. No. I mean, they can. Men can, to a certain extent, for sure. We're much more adaptable than you ladies are. And more logical and reasonable. So, yeah, we can, but you can't. Another reason why you resent us and want to be like us, even though you call us toxic and evil. I just don't believe I'm one of those people anymore. Yeah. Interesting how that timing works. I know now that my purpose lies in having a husband and a family. You had that! The dude wanted that. He wasn't making much money, and he wasn't ambitious enough. When we were young, he didn't have everything. I wanted a guy that was already at the finish line and had all that stuff. I wonder if I bet if we look back in on that dude that she dumped, he's probably one of the six-figure dudes. Right, has a family and a wife and kids, yeah. I know now that my purpose lies in having a husband and a family. I'm meant to take care of more than just myself. Yeah, she probably looked on Facebook one day and saw that her former ex is now wealthy and has kids and has a beautiful wife and has a great life. It's like, oh my, I need to get that too. Probably tried to reconnect with him too. Didn't work out. I'm looking for my forever person. Yeah, 39. Good luck, honey. And hoping he's looking for me too. He ain't. I got news for you, honey. He ain't looking for you. He's looking for the next hit it and quit it. Because most women these days, especially modern Western women, are just living a fairy tale Peter Pan life, flitting from man to man, feeling to feeling, butterfly to butterfly, chasing the dragon, as it were. They're all heroin addicts, only their drug of choice is new relationships and the butterfly feelings hit high that comes with them. They're essentially drug addicts, hedonists, and people like that are never going to find real meaning and happiness in their lives. Because that's not where it comes from. And all you got to do is look around Skid Row, baby, in California to see that. Lots of burnt out junkies there, which is exactly what this chick is. And now that she's a burnt out junkie, and she's figured out, being a burnt out junkie, it's not working for me anymore. Meaning I don't get the fix I used to from the drugs. And it's degraded my health and my mental well-being to such an extent that my life is really horrible. So now I want to quit and find some meaning. Anybody out there want a burnt out junkie bum to be their partner? I don't. But what about you? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Is this woman girlfriend, wife material after years of drug addiction and living a hedonistic lifestyle? Has she really changed? Could she make a good mommy? Or is the damage already done? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and please like and subscribe to this channel. Follow me on BitChute. Follow me on Rumble. Alt Tech is the future. Anyhow, I am the Realist Philosopher, and I wish you all a good and pleasant day. Take care.